I think the greatest secret out there is that the history that we've been taught about evolution, about development of humanity, it's all fake.
We need to count our final days as the US has found world-ending violent giant creatures buried underneath Antarctica. And it's not only coming up, but we won't survive it.
Today we're uncovering the hidden history of the Hoover Dam, the submerged town of St. Thomas, and the bizarre symbolism and technology that suggests that there's much more to this story than what we've been told.
Hey, welcome back. Before we get started, hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. Let's do this.
The secret out there is that the history that we've been taught about evolution, about development of humanity, it's all fake, okay? So we have about 10,000 years of human history. That's it. But we know that we Homo sapiens have been around for about 200,000 years, okay? That's the best estimate. So what were we doing for the rest of this time? Okay, that's a question that science has never really answered for us. Okay, that's point number one. Point number two is that we have some archaeological sites that are close to us. Okay, so Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. Okay, Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, Tepe in Turkey. We've only uncovered 5% of all of it, and we have. And so why we haven't uncovered the rest of it? It's not about money issue. It's because the truth will destroy the traditional narrative. Then you have the Amazon in Brazil. And how we're discovering how these ancient civilizations existed in the Amazon before. And also, these ancient civilizations were the ones who actually created the Amazon. Because the Amazon itself is not an organic creation. It was a man-made creation. So if you do, I mean, like if you just work from first principles, what you recognize is that we've probably had civilizations before this, okay, that were destroyed in the Great Flood, okay, or what was technically called the geomagnetic excursion. The magnetic pole excursion. Would you say that the magnetic poles, the north and south, they switch every 6,000 years, okay? And when you do that, you change the geography, the topology of the Earth. You cause massive floods, you cause climate change, and these civilizations were destroyed. So we are not part of the first civilization, okay? Another thing is the pyramids, the Egyptian pyramids. We are not able to create the Egyptian pyramids using the technology that we have today, okay? It's incredible to think about how, we have the most advanced spaceships and computers, but we're not actually able to recreate the pyramids because we don't have the technology, all right? So I think it's safe to say that there have been other civilizations before us that were also advanced, but in a different way, okay? Maybe rather than focus on the material, they were focused more on the spiritual. So I think that's a greatest secret that the elite refused to allow us to understand. Even Epstein was spending a lot of time looking for Atlantis, right? Mm-hmm. And so the elite understand that there have been past civilizations before, and they spend a lot of time and resources looking for these past civilizations. So what was Stephen Hawking doing on Epstein Island, right? Well, he was part of this search for these lost civilizations. So the elite understand this, but it's the greatest secret that they want to keep from us because it would destroy everything, okay? Once we understand that there have been past civilizations, everything goes out the door, including evolution, including this material conception of the universe, okay?
There's so many structures around the world, actually, that we really don't know if we could replicate them today. We can't explain how they were made in the first place. We don't even know actually how old they really are. We always talk about them in separation. So we talk about the pyramids in one conversation, we talk about Stonehenge in another conversation, and I wonder what would happen if we group them all into one. Maybe things would start looking like it's making a little more sense. We might see more similarities in the way things were built. But the fact that we can't build them today says that there must have been a separate civilization in the past that was obviously more capable than our own. These powers to be probably don't want us to know about this technology because if we learned about it, we would start asking for samples of it. We would have a demand to use this technology in our everyday world. And that could do things like eliminate our dependency on oil and create an alternative energy source. And of course, if that happens, the whole world is going to have to change the way it functions, because right now we all are leaning heavily on the use of oil. This would change our markets. This would change the way transportation is done. It would change the way we have electricity and heat our homes. So as a result, this would also create a power shift in the world. All the wealthy, powerful people who are currently living in this high life position from the success of oil would no longer be able to sustain that lifestyle that they've come to love. Now, as far as Epstein's Island and Stephen Hawking going there, something tells me that he wasn't going there for research of finding Atlantis. It's just a hunch.
Our final days as the US has found world-ending violent giant creatures buried underneath Antarctica, and it's not only coming up, but we won't survive it. People were terrified after classified military expeditions allegedly uncovered remains of beings standing over 18 feet tall beneath thousands of feet of ice, with the Book of Enoch warning that fallen angels and their giant offsprings were imprisoned in frozen dark abyss until the day of judgment, and that day may already be here, as haunting thermal scans are allegedly showing heat signatures moving beneath the ice where nothing should be alive, with multiple world leaders and military officials making emergency visits to Antarctica, and no one knows why, with Jude 1:6 warning that the angels who abandoned their home are being kept in eternal chains under darkness for great judgment, and what's beneath that ice is matching the Bible word for word. But it gets much stranger, as ancient Sumerians, Native Americans, and Polynesian cultures all describe giants being imprisoned beneath the ice at the bottom of the world, just like this.
This one right here looks pretty wild. Look, that looks like a face.
But what do you believe?
I would like to know what those heat signatures look like under the ice. I mean, are we talking like volcanic activity that's just showing up? Maybe that's why the ice is starting to melt down in Antarctica. Or are we talking about like actual heat signatures that expose the fact that there's a body or multiple bodies that are moving around under the ice? But let's take a look at this picture here. If you look, it's a very interesting picture. You can see a face, which pareidolia exist, and we see faces in everything that has two dots and a mouth underneath it. But when we look at this, I mean, let's just ignore the face. You can see that there looks like there could be some form of shoulders. There are arms that look like they're bent, almost like a fist is made, lying on the chest. I mean, it does look like some form of a humanoid figure. Obviously, it must be quite large as well. I mean, he said giants. Do we really know what he means by giants? I mean, are we talking like something that's as big to us as we are to ants, or are we talking something that's a few feet taller? I would think to bring on the destruction of the human race, we would need something that's going to make us look like ants.
You know, and if America falls,
I don't think we survive, brother.
what?
He said soon the shepherds of our people, the Arabs, they're in the middle of the desert, nothing there, will compete with one another to make buildings that touch the sky. And when one builds one, the other will say, I'll make one even bigger. We're all the greatest skyscrapers in the world. These are his words, Danny Jones. You tell me how an illiterate Arab in pre-ancient Arabia could have known that specifically. He said that men will marry men. There's a lot of prophecies. One of them was the time will come where people will place instruments, musical instruments on their ears, and they will dance into the night. How did he know? He described headphones, bro, towards the end of time.
That's pretty wild if that's true.
All of the minor signs, and I invite the audience, study the end of time signs in the religion of Islam. All the minor ones had happened. There's only the big ones left. And what are the big ones? The Great War, the appearance of the Antichrist, the return of Jesus Christ, peace and blessings be upon him. When the great signs start, it is too late to become a believer in God, because you didn't believe without the signs. So my message to the Christian audience is we both believe Christ will be king when he returns to the earth. We both believe in one that will claim to be him and to deceive humanity and lead them into the fires of hell. He will be a man that only has one eye. Why is it that all the elite use that symbol, Danny? How did the Prophet Muhammad know? Because he's the only one that ever said it. I will give you a sign of the Antichrist that no other prophet has given his nation, that he will have one eye. But God does not have one eye. That was the one description that the Prophet Muhammad gave to all of humanity. Closest to the Muslim is the Christian. Skynet, bro. Starlink. Over our heads, bro. There will be nowhere to escape. Crypto takes over. Dollars on its way out. All fiat currency. That's why America has to fall. This is a global agenda.
Okay, someone help me out in the comments here. Are these three things supposed to take place in the order in which this man just said? Are we supposed to have a world war first, and then the return of the Antichrist, and then Jesus returns? I find it interesting that the Antichrist is said to have one eye, and the fact that all these celebrities are covering their one eye for the photo ops. If we look at old stories like folk tales, there are stories of Cyclops humanoid men and women who were very large, like giants basically, but with one eye. Kind of makes you wonder, like, the stuff that they're saying is going on in Antarctica and the thawing of the ice and the possibility of these large giants under the ice. Are these giants one-eyed? And is there one that's actually currently conscious, that is actually here and is kind of running the world? It really makes you wonder if there isn't more connections here that could be made.
Okay, so I posted a video about the moon last night. Within 2 hours, people on the other side of the planet were sending me this. Just absorb that for a moment. Seems totally normal, right? But think of it like 4 different people standing around a campfire. Except the campfire is the moon, and the 4 people are spread across the planet. So walk with me through this. 6:45 p.m., Florida looks up and sees the bright edge of the moon on the bottom, not the side, the bottom. 2 hours later, I walk outside of my house and I look to the western horizon and see the same thing, on the bottom. I've watched the sky my entire life. I took astronomy in college. I feel like I should remember something like that happening. I feel like I should have learned about something like that happening. I don't feel like that is in any way something I've ever seen my entire life, with the crescent on the bottom. I've just never seen it like that, once in my life. So I post the video. Then New Zealand shows up in my comments. There's this first photo, timestamp 10:16 a.m. New Zealand time. That converts to mountain time. That photo was taken 2:16 in the afternoon. 4.5 hours before Florida even saw what was going on. That person hadn't seen my video yet. They had just looked up, saw the moon, thought it was odd, and took a picture. So that photo sat on their phone for about 4.5 hours before they saw my video and sent that to me. So I'm sitting in my bed at like 12:45 at night because I can't sleep because this is crazy. And a second New Zealand photo comes in, this time more recent. Like live, and it's high def. Take a look at it. Notice how the bright edge is on the left? Not the bottom like Florida and Utah, the left. Here's the simplest way I can explain how this matters and why this matters. Imagine you're in a dark room, one lamp in the corner. You hold up a ball. The bright side of that ball will always face the lamp, right? Always. That's the heliocentric model. The sun is the lamp, the moon is the ball. Simple geometry, no exceptions. Now here's the problem. For Florida to see the bottom lit and New Zealand to see the left lit crescent in the same 2.5 hour window, that lamp would have had to swing 90 degrees across that room. The sun moves 15 degrees per hour in 2.5 hours. That's 37 degrees, not 90. The lamp didn't move fast enough, by 53 degrees. That's not a small error, that's the model breaking its own rules. The same night, all 4 of us looked up. Earth's electromagnetic field fired at 100 times its normal strength. 3 days after the solar eclipse rewrote the entire lunar cycle. In my model, the moon isn't a ball reflecting the light of the lamp. It's more like a speaker in a concert hall, and the hall itself is vibrating. When the hall resonates at a certain level, every seat hears something slightly different, from the same source. Florida hears bottom, Utah hears bottom, New Zealand hears left. Same concert, same speaker, different seat, different experience. One field, everywhere, simultaneously. The standard model had one job tonight: predict where the bright edge of the moon would be. It missed 4 times, across 3 locations, by more than 50 degrees each time. And I didn't orchestrate this, I just looked up, like the other people did too. This is what I do. I've built a mathematical framework that predicts real, observable phenomena like this. And then I've been documenting when the theories confirm my math. Tonight, the sky confirmed my math. Across 4 independent observers and 2 continents.
That is really interesting that the moon would look different depending on where you are on the planet. It shouldn't. The sun is supposed to be a really long ways away from us. I don't think it should matter whether we are on one side of the planet or the other. This seems like something where we might want to reach out to some friends on the other side of the world and start comparing pictures and and see if we haven't exposed something here.
Filtered scientific proof for what the pyramids were really built for. This is what a real Egyptian tomb looks like, and this is the biggest tomb in the world, the Great Pyramid of Giza. The closer you look, the more you realize this pyramid was definitely not made for burying the dead, because the materials they used to build it are exactly what we'd use today to create an electric current. Giza used to be covered with bright white casing stones that were virtually airtight, made out of polished limestone brought from Tura, a quarry 500 miles away. Oh, they just wanted the pyramids to look all nice and white and cute, right? So much that they were willing to drag stones the length of Florida away to do so, for the aesthetic. This special limestone from Tura happens to have less magnesium in it than regular limestone, making it an ideal insulator of electricity, as well as perfect for reflecting sunlight to keep the inside cool. The interior chambers of the pyramid were built with rose granite, containing 85% quartz, which is piezoelectric, meaning it produces a small electric charge when moved or squeezed, the same quartz that's used to power a watch battery or a barbecue lighter.
That sinkhole that ate this Illinois soccer field happened to your house, it would be more probable than what they found in these vases. These are ancient Egyptian vases made out of granite. Some engineers saw this and said, hey, those are too precise, so they measured them. They were too precise for mechanical measurements, so they laser scanned them. The laser scan wasn't precise enough, so then they CT scanned them with an X-ray. CT scans are micron precise. That is a human hair. CT scans get that precise. You can see that level of detail. Here's one of them. Green means that if it was going on an airplane, it would be considered perfect. If I gave you a pencil with a micron thin tip, a perfectly straight line would be green. You're off by 3 microns, that's yellow. These are designed using circles. The pattern is based on sacred geometry. It's called radial traversion. It just means that every curve on that vase is a harmonic ratio, like music. They tested the mathematically perfect pattern on a digitally designed vase. The difference between the perfect digital one and the Egyptian one was 9 microns.
The technology used to make those vases must have been very impressive. We were told and taught in school that everybody back then was making things basically by hand with old rudimentary tools, and seems impossible to achieve that kind of accuracy. But when you look at the pyramids and you consider the fact that they weren't burial tombs and they were some other form of technology, we don't even know what the technology was or what they were really used for. But you can see clearly in that video that the interior of those pyramids does not really support a place to store a king who's passed or a queen. It just doesn't make any sense. The way that it's designed and structured on the inside, it's impractical to make it for that reason. So what were they really made for?
How would you define real?
Yeah, that's a good question. So
You
that's
could
why I
see
paused.
it, you could touch it, you could measure it, you could taste it, smell it. Would that be real?
Do you think we're living in a simulation?
Then we'd have to define simulation. Because I think every society has this hubris of the universe is whatever's cool to us right now. Electricity came out, the universe was energy. Industrial Revolution came out, the whole universe was a giant machine. And right now everybody says, oh, that we just discovered computers, the universe must be a computer. It's like the hubris of every generation. What I mean by simulation, I think, like, is it rendered in some way by something? I study this stuff all day, every day of my life. And I think that the more discoveries we have in particle physics and quantum mechanics, the more they're proving the Hermetic principles right.
What's that?
These are the 7 ancient principles of this guy named Hermes Trismegistus, also known as Thoth, like an Egyptian guy. They're confused about his name. But he's like, he wrote these first 2 principles are the most important. The first one is all is mind.
All is mind.
All is mind. The all is mind. The universe is mental. And then the second one is as above, so below. And here's how I explained this to my son a couple of days ago. I said, have you ever had a dream where there's like a building in the dream? Maybe there's a house in front of you. And what are you looking at the house with? And he's like, well, my eyes. I said, why? Which eyes are they? Are they your eyes that you're seeing the house with? And he said, no, because you're imagining your own set of eyes to see the house with in your dream. Your eyes aren't there. Your body isn't there. So you're imagining the whole body and the world. And I said, what's the distance between you and that house in your dream? They said 30 feet. I said, what is the air made out of between you and the house? And he said, air. And I said, you have air in your dreams? Is it real air? And he said, no, it's my brain. And I said, so is there distance between you and the house? He said, no. What's the house made out of? Me. What's the air made out of? Me. The entire thing is me. The ground I'm standing on, the house, the clouds in the sky. So in a dream, you can verifiably prove that something is real. You can test it, you can touch it, and all of that, and the perception of it is very much real. So the theory now, and I don't have any certainty about this, but one interesting theory that I've heard from many different neuroscientists is like, if we look at as above, so below, like a universe spins like a DNA double helix. You can zoom in on a human eyeball and it looks the same as a nebula. What if dreams are this level 1, and this is like level 2 of that, where we're hallucinating distance. We're hallucinating, and I think that whatever the case is, I have no idea. I have no theories about it myself. But whatever the case is, I do think that separation is the greatest lie ever told to the entire world. Of like you are separate from that person, like this, you are separate from this. And how people say, I need to go spend time in nature. Like, you are nature. Like, that's part of who you are. You're made out of that stuff. You're made out of that dirt. So I think the illusion of separation is the one thing that I think will help a lot of people. And that's why psychedelics can really just rewire somebody's brain so fast. It just deletes that separation.
I feel like I just had some DMT. Because you said, level 1 is dreams, level 2 is maybe this reality. So the question in my mind was, what's level 3?
Yeah, then that would maybe be what you see on DMT.
All right, here's my take on this. Everything is made of atoms. At least that's what we're told. Scientists have claimed that when they observe atoms, they act differently than when they're not being observed. I believe either they're a wave or they're a particle. It's whether they're being observed or not. I can't remember which way it goes. But my point is that they change their behavior when you look at them. So that would insinuate that when you look at everything in your surroundings, it means that those physical things that you're looking at are acting the way they are, whether they're sitting still or they're blowing in the wind or they're rolling down a hill. They're acting this way because you are observing them. So it makes you question, what's going on behind you? The things you can't see. Is this truly like a computer or a video game where your reality is only rendering what is in front of you? The kind of thing that says, if you're not looking at it or you're not engaged with it, then it doesn't exist. It's definitely a far out idea and pretty fun to think about.
The dots on this screen represent an adult life in months, assuming a life expectancy of 90. So if you're 18 years old right now, this is an optimistic estimate of the months that you have left. Take a second to take that in. Probably not as many as you would expect. And I'm sorry to say that it does get worse, because about a third of that time is going to be spent sleeping. On average, 126 of those months will go to school and your career. About 18 will be spent driving, 36 cooking and eating, 36 doing chores and errands, and about 27 in the bathroom and taking care of personal hygiene. So that leaves you with 334 months. This is where you pursue your passions and travel the world and leave your mark. How you spend this time is going to determine the quality of your life. So take a second and ask yourself, what do you want to do with that free time? Now, I would be willing to bet that scrolling through TikTok, binge watching Netflix, and playing video games probably did not come to mind. But today, the average 18-year-old in the United States is on pace to spend 93% of their remaining free time looking at a screen. Imagine getting to the age of 90, seeing this visualization of how you spent all your time after the age of 18, and thinking about all the things you could have done that you did not do because you got distracted.
And that's why I'm here. I'm saving you time so you don't have to go on TikTok to figure out what's going on in the world. Let's check out the next video.
1931 to 1936, right during the Great Depression, the Hoover Dam was created, forming Lake Mead and the largest reservoir in the entire United States, where it submerged multiple towns, brick and stone buildings, and old world structures. Today we're uncovering the hidden history of the Hoover Dam, the submerged town of St. Thomas, and the bizarre symbolism and technology that suggests that there's much more to this story than what we've been told. When the Hoover Dam was completed, it formed Lake Mead, again, the largest reservoir in the entire United States. This project submerged 248 square miles of land. This is equivalent to 158,720 acres gone. And all of it is under 532 feet of water, sinking things that would blow our minds today. Exactly like we've shown all over the world, including the town of St. Thomas in Nevada, where in the 1930s, residents were told to sell their land to the federal government. Most buildings were abandoned or dismantled. Why dismantle a building if you're going to sink it anyway? I think all of us can answer that. These buildings were not built with wood, and they were not built with dirt. They were palaces, and they were from the old world. They did not belong in Nevada at all. The entire town was submerged for decades until something happened recently. With record low water levels in this fake lake that they just made. Remember, it's not a natural lake. There was never supposed to be water there. So obviously the water levels are going to go down, and they knew this. And that's why they dismantled these buildings, because St. Thomas has now reemerged.
It seems like our governments of the world are always trying to hide something from us. This would not surprise me at all. It's quite interesting that they would have to dismantle buildings that they're going to cover with hundreds of feet of water. But this man did say, you never know, there could be a drought, and that would mean that everything that was there would be eventually exposed. But can they hide everything? Has anybody taken any radar images of the bottom of the lake to see what actually is down there and what it looks like? Maybe you can't even tell anymore because possibly they did such a good job of dismantling it. I guess we won't know until Lake Mead dries up completely. Hey, thanks for watching. If you made it to the end, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Until next time, question everything.